Good afternoon, everyone. I will be your hurdle coach for today's track season. I have been coaching hurdles for about 5 years now, and you can call me by the first letter of the alphabet, A, not anything like B, C, D, or anything creative, just Coach A, something short and simple for you folks to remember. In today's hurdle journey, we will be talking about the history of it, how hurdles were developed throughout the centuries, few competitions that you might be competing, and also a couple of guidelines in case you are interested in hurdling. Now, as we run back into the history of hurdles, in the early days, it was more of a barrier type thing where you just jump over a wooden bar. And it was difficult for runners to hurdle because the barrier would be so heavy to a point where instead of knocking the hurdle down, it would basically tear you apart. According to Livestrong, two major events were settled in the mid-19th centuries in England. That would be the 100 hurdles, yard hurdles in the 19th centuries, and also 400-meter hurdles. In 1888, the 100-yard hurdles were changed into the distance of 110-meter hurdles, which are also known as high hurdles. And as for women, their first event didn't take place until 1926, which was over 80 meters of hurdles. But that changed to 100 meters in 1964. Now, leading towards the big games, the Olympics, the men's first event was the 100-meter hurdles, which were introduced to the games in 1972. As for the 400-meter hurdles for the men as well, was introduced in the 1900s. For women, it took a little bit much longer for them to be eligible to compete in the Olympic Games, but no one knows actually why. As for that, their 100-meter hurdles were established in 1972, and their 400-meter hurdles were not eligible to run until 1984. Once we start off to compete in our competition, we start at the starting line. As for that, you need to know what type of competitions there are. According to the IAAF, the International Association of Olympics Federations. In middle school, it's different because you're small and you can't run as much. So for that, you would only run the 100 and the 200 hurdles. As for high school, you develop much quicker and you're much stronger. So you will be competing in the 100 hurdles, 400 hurdles, high hurdles for men, and so on and so forth. Once you get to the bigger games as well, the Olympics, it gets a little bit more complicated. 60-meter hurdles, 100 hurdles, high hurdles, and etc. According to the IAAF. Now, before we begin our race, let's go over some few guidelines. There are some, you can get disqualified, so remember that. Before you start your race, of course, you cannot false start. If you false start, you will be asked to leave the track. You must stay in your lane that you were assigned to throughout the entire race. You cannot interfere with any other runners or hit them or touch them in any sort. Also, you cannot touch the hurdles either with your hands or your feet or anything else. Now, you must get your form as well in order to complete the hurdles. Now, we don't have any hurdles with us today because all of our upperclassmen are sadly taking the hurdles away from us. So with that, how you complete the hurdles is you would use a sprinting form movement to approach the first hurdle. With that, you would use both full arm movements to get your thrust and chest up as well. Your trail leg is the leg that you would go over the hurdle, according to this man right here. Your trail leg must be at a 90-degree angle in order to not lose your stride to complete the hurdle as well. Now, you learn the history of hurdles and some background knowledge of history, some competitions, and some few guidelines as well. Now, I hope you folks enjoyed this 20 minutes so-ish, and hope you folks continue on hurdling and maybe want to experience hurdles as well.